I am your host, Leah Denla, and you are listening to the Oracle on Purpose podcast, where we help intentional leaders clarify their purpose and next steps to create a work and life of significance.
Hey everyone. I suck at setting boundaries. That's what my client said. I suck at setting boundaries. And it made me realize that when we say that, first of all, when we say I suck at setting boundaries, we are missing the point altogether, because there is no place where you set boundaries, like outside. It's not like a fence that you're going to put around your personage or your business or your life. When we're creating who we're being in a way that's totally aligned and attuned to who we are, then there is no place to set boundaries. There is a place where you can lose yourself by giving up on what is really aligned in your choices. So I wanted to take a minute to talk about that. How can you create from a place where what you say and do is already so aligned that there isn't a space for people to burst through any boundaries? There is no room for them to do anything but to receive you as you present yourself. So when we think about boundaries from this kind of external source, like we're laying out, like I said, a fence, or we're laying out parameters, we are actually giving away the one thing that we always have, which is our own authentic nature, our own autonomy to live and breathe and be in the world the way that we're intended. And when you or someone you know is pushing against what you think are your boundaries, check in with whether they're doing that because you're not clear or you're not being honest, right, with a decision you've made or a decision you'd like to make that you haven't made. That's a really big one. Think about that. It could look as if people are walking all over you or taking you for granted or not giving you your due, right? They're not seeing you or valuing you the way that you want. And in reality, no one can look at you or see you or have an experience of you outside of the one you create from inside yourself, right? How you show up is really how the world sees you, even if it doesn't say so. Right? That's how the world will respond to you, how you are being. And that does not require external boundaries. That requires internal knowing, alignment, refinement, discernment. These are all great words to consider. Like, are you being discerning? Are you listening for something inside of you to show up and say, this is a yes or this is a no? Not because it should be a yes or should be a no, but because internally, instinctively, intuitively, maybe even, you know it's going to get you closer to what your life fulfillment looks like or further away. So as I was working with my client through this process, the part that kept coming through and back and back and back again was, what do you want? What are you claiming that you want? And what decisions are you making based on that vision of what you're looking to do and create in the world? So as you start to look for yourself at like, where am I feeling like I'm not setting boundaries? Instead of looking outside, right? Instead of looking towards what people are doing to you or against you, ask what happens when someone is in my sphere and I feel like I'm not setting boundaries. What's happening in my own head, my own mind? What are the decisions I'm making and what are the ones that I'm holding back on, right? Because I'm perhaps looking for someone else's outer boundary, right? I'm looking as if I were them, I would want this to be this way. If that were me, I would want my reply to be such and such, right? We start to create this thing where we're creating stuff outside of ourselves, which then leaves us disconnected from the experience that we're literally standing in. So ultimately, if you can learn to be present in the moment, pay attention to what feels authentically real and true to you without needing to have it validated externally, then your boundaries are already set. Because who you're being already creates an experience that other people are responding to. So if you have been someone who has said to yourself or to someone else, man, I suck at setting boundaries, try this on for a few days, for the next week. When you feel as if that's what's going on, look inside and say, is there something here that I would rather be doing? Is there a way that I want to show up that I'm not showing up? Is there some part of this that doesn't feel like it's aligned with where I want to go and who I want to be in the world? And I'm just taking it on either through, like I said, kind of placating someone else's ideas or their boundaries, right? They're what we call pushing up against our boundaries. Or because I have decided that what they desire is more important than what I desire. Their desires, their intentions, their needs are more important than what is naturally coming through for me as my next step forward. We're not necessarily talking about being the rock or the water. This is an and, both and, right? Allow yourself to become so subtly aware of when you feel the need to flow and you feel the need to stand firm. When it feels aligned to your highest purpose, to stand for something and hold the line or move around it or release it. It can take practice if what you've done all of however long you've been here on this planet, you've been a person who lets people push into their space or gives up your own authentic, autonomous desires and inclinations and inspirations over to others, either seeking validation for it being okay or not okay, or through complete consignment to someone else's thoughts or ideas or desires for what they think you should or shouldn't be doing. That process creates a pattern, and that pattern then can kind of be automated in your system and just kind of become knee-jerk reaction to anything that people come up against you with. So knowing who you are, right? Understanding what really is your most aligned self and trusting that a thing that's desired through you is for you despite anyone else. Whether anyone else wants, needs, or it works for anybody else. If it's yours, it's yours. And you have every right to keep moving towards that, to keep making decisions and choices that align with it. And if you don't, it's not about not setting boundaries. It ultimately is about not being aligned. So if that's you, and you find yourself having said, I suck at making boundaries, setting boundaries, holding boundaries, then I encourage you to find a way to practice the art of alignment. And I have one way to help do that. We are about to open up the doors. In fact, I think they're open right now to join us next month for the Purpose and Prosperity Accelerator. And one of the key components of that, a bonus, if you will, that you get for joining us, is the opportunity to find out what is your authentic, most purposeful self. Who you be. So if you want to know and have that awareness, right, have that anchoring of alignment, find that sweet spot of purpose and prosperity that is born inside of knowing what your unique life purpose is, then I encourage you to check out the link below if you're just listening to this, go to purposeandprosperityaccelerator.com. Again, purposeandprosperityaccelerator.com. And you can learn all about it. We are an intimate group. We set off for a 13-week journey. And once a week, we dive not only into what your desires and goals are, but we set that foundation on the bedrock of learning who you are and what your most aligned purpose is here on this planet. All right, so if that's for you, check out the link. If that's not for you, just remember, if you're still struggling with the thought that you don't set good boundaries, there is a way to turn the page and practice something different. All right, I'm Leah Dunlap, the Oracle on Purpose. I hope to see you next month. And if not, I'll see you back here sometime soon. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Oracle on Purpose show. If you found value in this episode, we'd appreciate you leaving a comment. Also, you can subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't yet. If you'd like to get clear on your highest vision and next steps, go to oracleonpurpose.com. See you next week.